Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
You know, there's a show I was watching that I really stimulated a lot of this sort of thinking, and actually I thought it was quite clever because it introduced all these ideas that people have around God without using the word, and I'd never thought it was possible until I saw this show, and I went, "Fuck! Somebody figured out the device." Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is how they do it. It's a sci-fi, and there's a quantum AI in the future that figures out how to put people back in time, and there's all these disasters that have occurred. So this AI, so this semi-conscious but not living being, this quantum thinker, and you get the sense it's thinking in this other plane. And it's sending people back to correct the future, and so it's, and the way they do it is it sends consciousness. They send these people's consciousness who are in the future to the past, and they overwrite the people in the past. So it's almost like a murder. So the way they do it is they find people just about to die, and then they overwrite them. And then they train them to do something different so that they don't die, and therefore it's moral.
Huh.
And so therefore there are these people who are being sent, and people who are dying, and there's all this changing of the karma of people's lives, and none of it makes sense to the people who are experiencing it. But these time travelers know exactly why all of this is happening, because they already know the script, and they know how they're intervening in the script, and they know who the characters actually are, and why karma that looks like it's cruel or unnecessary or whatever, it makes some sense in this other paradigm of meaning. And suddenly you start to go, well, you know what, things could actually, this doesn't make sense to me, and therefore means to me that there can't be an organizing principle operative in my life. But maybe there is, I just don't know how to interpret it. That's the message it continually gives, and it does it quite well.
It's like
It's called The Travelers.
Oh, is that on Netflix?
Yeah.
Dude, I think I've seen that. I haven't watched it. I've read the thing. I'm like, what about this one?
Yeah. It's low entertainment because the idea is great, but the execution is okay.
Okay.
I see it as a great opportunity to do a lot more interesting.
I think you probably do what I do. Is I am always for these kind of archetype relevant, or can it be something that's pointing to the transcendent, or like I'm looking for these themes and motifs and narrative devices that I'm like, oh, cool, I like that. They did that in a clever way or whatever.
So this is one of the come-tos I had watching this show, which was a very interesting come-to. I go, what if I am someone that was sent from the future into the past, and now I am in this position to change the course of the future through my acts? And it sort of makes you realize you are in this very strange position where, if you knew what they were, a sequence of acts would change the course of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other thing, and this is where synchronicity comes in, because what I found is that you can make all sorts of choices, right? And if this emergent organizational phenomenology doesn't have a connection to the logic of the real, then whatever choice you made wouldn't actually feel any different. There wouldn't be a difference. And the only way I know this is that when you do something that does make a difference, you get this feeling like there's a ripple that just got created that seems to be expanding into the future. So like I phenomenologically experienced, when I've made certain intellectual steps forward, this sense of a ripple. And I go, is that my imagination? Is that just me happening? And or is it real? And the thing is, on some level, you have to imagine that it is real.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I watch this show, it supports my sense that it is. And then when I actually investigate some of my experiences and my thoughts around them, I go, well, you know what? There was a way in which it was real, because if you do articulate something correctly that does change the way the culture thinks about a certain subject, especially in philosophy, I think the future does change. And one of the things you will find is that the future has changed over many crude, manifestations, and it's still dominated the future for a long time, regardless of all the problems in the work.
There's
one of them is Voltaire. I think Voltaire is one of these guys. I was once reading one of his books, and synchronistically, and like I don't understand it, but I was reading Voltaire, and I was really getting how Voltaire had truly, and he did a lot of this game playing that I'm talking about, because he wrote these almost like comedic interpretations of church ideas, of Catholic ideas, right? He would go over them, and he would explain in the funniest of ways. You're laughing at the terrible contradictions they were involved in, and he basically got a whole generation of people laughing around these theological conundrums, and in that way he created space for a different kind of culture, and people forget that. Anyways, that's what I was realizing as I was reading it. Like it really, and I saw how he was using early Jewish philosophy to defend his views, and that was also very interesting to me. How he was using certain ideas in ancient Jewish texts to support some of his propositions, and
and you said it was funny to them at the time.
Well, it was scandalous and funny. It was He was making fun of the church. He was making fun. He was like following their logic and making
making the absurdities more pronounced or something.
More pronounced, and actually making outright jokes about it. Like,
that's kind of cool, because I think that's what you and I appreciate about humor, in that, like, it almost allows for, if people aren't clenching the world too tightly between their buns, there's a release that we get as a people.
Yes. So as I'm realizing this, what happens is, for some strange reason which I can't explain, the glass, there's all the panes of glass that are used to boundary the walkway right where I'm reading the book, they all start cracking. They all just start cracking. Yeah. This actually, the cracking glass phenomena has happened to me twice in my life. That it makes no sense, but it has happened. And you go, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's the kind of shit that is, I love that kind of shit. I can run on that kind of thing for like a month.
Yeah.
Without ever needing another kind of synchronicity.
There was a period in my life where I was living the sort of purest life. That is, I was not allowing myself to get distracted in any way whatsoever, all philosophy and a lot of tantric sex. So it was
wow.
A perfect time. And part of the synchronicity thing.
Sounds like it.
Part of the synchronicity thing is, like, part of how I learned the skill was the alchemists all claim that sexuality is part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to ask yourself, is it part of it? And it seems like an odd claim. And at first I found it very, what's the word? I don't know. It was
provocative.
I thought it was maybe hedonist. Like so it wasn't actually spiritual or philosophical. It was nonsense, right? That was my first feeling around it, in early 20s. But mainly because I think I was more afraid of sex than I would admit.
Mm-hmm.
And the states around it, because I was quite aware that there would be states of mind that I would enter into that were very not like the way I like my mind to work.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I did. So it actually had to do dream analysis to discover that maybe I as much as I was attracted to and into and wanting to create the orgasmic state, that there's some part of me actually was terrified of it, which was a surprise to me. But then it started to make a little more sense when I realized that to some degree I was having more empathy for my biological experience, which is a weird and kind of strange and messy experience to have. I really like the Euclidean space I live in. I don't really like to get into all that biology. It's like, it's weird.
Dude, that's the weirdest thing, because that brought to mind about a year ago, I did 30 days of yoga in a row, and just the kind of reconnecting with my body, because I've disconnection comes easy for me, but really kind of getting into it and connecting deeply in that fully appreciative way that reality is awesome. It's pretty cool to have a body that can interact with it, and just all these tears and emotions welled up from this wordless space of self empathy. Like I was able to give it to myself. At least it was one of the first times I experienced it, actually. But yeah, that was scary enough for me to do yoga a few more times after that 30-day stint, and I'm thinking about doing it again this year. But
one of the most powerful things that I did, and I actually am not capable of doing anymore. It's a terrible thing to admit, and I don't even want to admit it, and I'm actually regretting I said it out loud.
You got to finish it.
But I have to say it because I have not been living up to my knowledge of the matter, right? Mm-hmm. So what it did was I started realizing this sitting thing was no joke. So I started meditating, and over time I started realizing the value of meditation. And more I realized, I started understanding the Zen text around motive, that all motives are a problem, and I had to find a way to creatively neutralize motives without having the motive of neutralizing them, which seemed like a very difficult game to be playing, right?
Yeah.
You can't suppress it, and so people begin with meditation as they think you have to suppress your psychological process. But I always tell them right away, all you're doing is just learning how to persistently follow your emotional and psychological process. As articulate as possible, just follow it, and just learn to follow it no matter what it is you're thinking, what it is you're feeling. Have a part of you that's evaluating it as metaphor.
Yeah, that's useful. Good advice, actually.
Yeah, so then you develop a sort of meta witness to your own experience, and that, I think, is part of the synchronistic, like
manifold.
That's
perhaps.
The key. Oh yeah, there has to be a meta awareness that's aware of the phenomenal awareness, and the two of them have to be in sync.
Yeah,
because when they're both in sync, the magic starts to happen. And one of the way to practice this, though, is with another human being. And so the sexual experience is one way to do it, because you're both trying to create a state of being that you're both sharing.
Right. Yeah. And it's as intimate as you can get.
As intimate as you can get. So the idea is that you can experience what she's experiencing.
Yeah.
You can actually experience it. So at first it was an imaginative fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I thought, oh, wouldn't that be cool that I could actually experience somebody else's experience? I didn't think it was possible. I thought it was a romantic fantasy. But I followed it anyways. I went, well, do I know what's possible, what's not possible? I don't know what's possible in this case. And this is the Nameless thing again, is you can't project a priori closure on the matter. As improbable as it may seem, it still may be real. It may actually happen. So
can't we still say that it's improbable?
I can't say it anymore
More unlikely.
because I myself cannot say it's improbable because I've had way too many experiences. And like the thing is, if you're actually having these experiences, what's going to happen is this. You're going to have them and you're going to go, okay, well, I'm not changing my whole framework over that one experience. That was probably some sort of strange anomaly, but let me remain open to whether this goes on more. And then maybe let me even investigate and see if I can amplify it. But I'm not going to believe that.
Can't you be both? Can't you be open-minded and believe something?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I actually believe in provisional determinism. You know, you provisionally
What would you say? Sorry, keep going.
you provisionally determine the world according to everything the best you can do. And you map it out the best that you can, but you know that it's provisional and it's probably going to change. And you know that some of the values that you've already marked out may possibly actually also change. So you don't really know where it's not going to change and where it is. But over time, you get the feeling that certain ideas are fairly reliable and others are more vulnerable to change, and that's the progress.
Yeah,
And
that sounds like maturity.
that becomes a very stable foundation because you're now rooted in probability, and like there are things that could be true, but they're so improbable and they never manifest that you can be fairly confident that as you're laughing about it, you're going to be right. But you know, I'm still very superstitious about laughing about things, even though I'm a little more cocky than I used to be. I'm still superstitious that I'm going to, you know, even through this debacle, there are certain moments where I felt, do I know what's going on? Am I imagining that? Am I going to find out that it's all reversed and David's right?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's possible.
Really? Why not? Anything's possible.
Yeah.
No, of course, and I think that's what I'm saying, right? Like, can't we be confident in the things that we're pretty sure aren't the case,
can.
while maintaining open-mindedness to the possibility that they in fact are?
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming at. But it seems like you're like sort of like placing the position that I actually hold in the realm of disagreeing with that. You know what I mean? Like it
No.
seems as if no.
I don't disagree.
Maybe
I don't disagree.
Okay.
Is that if someone claims to you, no, there is such a thing as nothing, right? What are you going to do at that point? You're going, well, that just does not add up. In my experiences, that won't add up, and it won't add up for you. Like my experiences, that isn't going to add up. It's not going to work. That approach won't work. So in that case, I'm open to the idea. You know, I'm still open to the nihilism idea. Every once in a while, I take a glimpse at it and go, ooh.
Mm.
But
yeah, I try to be open to every idea, but like we can be pretty confident that some of them aren't true, and every time we apprehend them and make every time we apprehend them after having integrated more knowledge, and we make an exactly an interpretation that's exactly the same, that dismisses it in exactly the same way, we become more and more confident that it is in fact not the case.
Yeah.
I think that's like...
Yeah, so when it comes to telepathic experiences, it's become a plethora of experiences that are undeniable. So I'll tell you the one story.
I will give that to psi phenomena. I'm not sure about telepathy experiences. Like I'm not too sure exactly what it is.
Okay, well, let me tell you the story that kind of shook me up, and I'm telling you, this shook me up. This actually, and actually, it is connected to my first experience, adult experiences of synchronicity. So, like, there's a period where all rational. So now this begins. It begins with this woman appearing in my life, and she's a friend of my fiance's sister. And the synchronicity starts kicking in the moment I see her, and I don't know why. There's no explanation for it. Some odd things going on that I don't know what it is. Like it feels like maybe it's a fever. I don't know what. But it feels like it's more than just what's going on in my mind. I feel like it's happening in the world, but I go, that can't be going on. I must be imagining it, but whatever it
well,
is,
it's at least in your body, right?
Yeah, whatever it is, the idea is this girl is going to come with us to Florida. We're all going to drive to Florida, and this girl's going to be in the car with me for like 24 hours with my in-laws. And I feel like this will be exposed by the end of the 24-hour period. Everyone will know something's going on.
Yeah.
Probably not true, but you know how paranoid you get. How can you hide this from everyone?
Yeah, you couldn't. Not if you're feeling it that intensely.
Exactly. So I'm going, okay, I'm not going to Florida. That was my decision in order to save myself from this particular dilemma, because I knew something was going on, but I didn't know what. And I didn't want to take any chances. So I thought, I'm not going. I'm not going to be in the car, because until I figure out what it is, I'm not going to expose everybody to it. So then we go skiing. Yeah. We go skiing. And on the last night of the ski trip, I have a dream, right? And in the dream, an old woman appears to me, and she tells me that I don't know her, but she's this woman's grandmother, and she's dying right now, right? She's telling me she's dying, and her last wish is that I go out with her daughter, her granddaughter. Wow. She's telling me.
Bit convenient, though, don't you think?
What? Yeah, well, yeah, a bit convenient. So I go, okay, well, that's a projection of my unconscious desire or whatever. Okay, that's an interesting dream, right?
Yeah.
That's how I think about it, because that makes sense. Maybe that's what's going on.
Of course. That's like the assumption.
But the thing is, when you have certain weird dreams, they feel weird when you're having them. It just does not feel like a normal dream. And again, this comes back to Jung's claim that certain synchronistic phenomena, the whole aura around them is a numinous aura that you can sense, and you've never experienced a numinous aura before, but for now you go, that was different. So that of the dreams I've known, I've never felt that space before. It felt real, right? You know,
I love the style with which you express your words, but can it be a numinous aura if you can tell that it's there?
Well, the way I use numinous seems very different than the way you use numinous. The way I use numinous is it's as though something is luminous. That is, it's giving off light, but it's not really giving off light. It's that it represents some sort of fractal order of the universe that seems way more complex and worked out than your own projective faculty, and that this phenomenon is happening. And something big is happening because it feels like something big is happening, but you don't know if it's just a subjective projection or not. All you know is, okay, there's an aura around us that seems not surreal. It seems surreal in this odd way.
It sounds like flow.
I'm using the word numinous to mean what Kant used it to mean, which is like, as far as I know, where the term comes from in philosophy.
Well, no, many people use it many different ways. So Jung uses it a particular way. And as a kid, I understood the word numinous from a very young age. So it says having a strong religious or spiritual quality, indicating or suggesting the presence of a divinity.
We're spelling it, yeah. If you look in like debate text chat, you can see that Jamie actually accidentally pulled that one up. I'm talking about numinous as in Kantian, the unthinkable, incomprehensible.
Yeah, I realize that. That's not the way I mean it. I'm meaning the Wikipedia definition.
Oh, no. That is a Wikipedia definition. It's just that your word is spelt differently.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You're right. Yeah.
But they both, maybe I'm not rendering it properly in speech, but they both sound the same to me. That's why I was confused.
Actually, they both do. The only thing is, I've only heard the other one as numinous, so that was a surprise to me. That's what threw me off, because I've never heard it. I've never heard the other one as numinous. The other spelling with the OUS at the end.
I usually say noumena, as in like the opposite of phenomena. Yeah. But he did say his word was numinous.
But he spelled it.
He spelled it N-O-U-E. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Fucking words.
Words are interesting still, though. Anyways.
Yeah, they are.
Anyways, so...
Interesting little pieces of shit.
So I go back to Toronto, and I find out that this girl's grandmother died that night.
Whoa.
That is some spooky shit, dude.
Yeah, that is.
That's very spooky. So...
No, spoopy with a P.
Oh, with a P. I don't even know what that means. Spoopy?
Well, yeah.
It's a meme about spooky.
Oh, okay.
So this is when my framework starts to break down after I had just decided that none of this could be real, right? Like, how could I have heard the thoughts? I just met this woman. There was no history. You know, I'd only met her for like 10 minutes. That was it. In those 10 minutes, I knew some shit was going on that was bigger than I'm normally used to. But I first, was suspecting it's some sort of unconscious erotic attraction or something like that. But it's not what it felt like to me. It felt like something weird was happening, like some weird time phenomena was happening. And then what happened was the whole thing freaked me out, and I wanted to contain it the way David is trying to contain it. So I wanted to just disqualify, get it out over, just make sure I avoid her. And the resolution was, now I am 100% certain I need to avoid her. I don't know why that seemed rational, but that was my conclusion. It's like, this is too weird. So I'm thinking about this as I'm walking down St. George, which is where the university is, and I spent a lot of time reading there. And I'm thinking about this particular dilemma, and I'm trying to skip the cracks in the pavement. You know, I try to avoid the cracks as I'm walking. It's one of the things I do. And I ram right into her.
One of those strange idiosyncratic behaviors.
Yeah, one of those strange things. And I walk right into her. That's what actually happened. I walk right into her, and I go, fuck!
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, you know what? So at that point, I surrender, and I go, now I just want to know what the fuck this is.
Yeah.
At this point, it's not about it. I don't know. At that point, it becomes an epistemological problem it doesn't seem like running away from it is the way to go.
For sure.
So then we go to a coffee shop, and I'm sitting with her, and like the emotional energy is different than anything I've experienced before. Right? So it's like something different is going on here, and I realize I just might as well start paying attention. Then I look out the window behind her, and I notice something really unusual, and I go, what the fuck? That's really unusual. And I look again, and I go, that can't be happening. And what it feels like is the clouds and the light seem to be in sync with my emotional state in a way that seems improbable.
Man, you must love my username, man.
Right?
Yeah, in sync. Yeah, I do.
You know what's even better, dude?
What?
That in itself is an example of synchronicity, because in sync is my true name, but the first 3 letters from each one, right? So I didn't intend for that to happen.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah. So my true name, in my opinion, is Insightful Inquiry.
Ah, interesting.
And yeah, it's just a coincidence that happened to make in sync, and it's fucking dope.
Yeah, it is. It is actually.
And it works, I think, even as like a placeholder for...
You see, when I saw In Sync on the screen, it had a numinous quality to me. Like, that is, it sort of bugs you on this other... You know, it's sort of, you go...
I love that you've given me a new... Because it's weird, there's this strange correlation between the two, because I think that Kant got noumena, as in his version, wrong, and it sounds like the thing that you're talking about is the right version of what he was trying to talk about.
That sounds right to me, actually. It does actually sound right to me. Well, the thing is, Kant tended to want to reduce, you know, he wanted to reduce it. And I don't think he's as a good reducer as people think.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would say he was a fantastic reducer up to the point of subjectivity,
yeah, exactly.
and then he sucked.
Yeah,
He was just shit beyond subjectivity.
Yeah. And actually, it seems like the Western culture is stuck there. Like,
yeah, because I think part of it is that people see someone so gifted reach a dead end and say, well, that is the end. Do you know what I mean? And I think in a big way, it had a lot to do with the fact that science in its modern form wasn't around, because reductionism beyond the subject is almost second nature to an empirically minded individual.
Yeah. Well, this comes back to why has it become so popular. And I think part of it is appeal to compassion. By the time when you establish that it's subjective, then you've also established that you have no authority to project morality. And then therefore the theory is, therefore people become more free of any kind of discrimination. So that's the other aspect of the compulsive nature of nihilism, is that nihilism is being sold as a form of compassion. And that's why it's a not.
I love what Jordan Peterson says about nihilism being an excuse to refuse to take up the responsibility of your existence. I think that's very accurate.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
Well, shit, you guys. I think I'm about to actually pass out on you guys and start snoring.
That was fun.
Yeah, this is.
It was actually a fucking awesome conversation.
Yeah,
we have to do it again and soon.
Yeah, okay,
absolutely,
for sure,
dude. Thank you, man.
Plus, I wanna try and sweet talk that David Longfellow. Maybe I can get him to come and join in.
Well, I think you could help with this, because my approach not good for him, but your approach, your approach may be much better.
I think it'll help. I think once they get together, dude, I see a lot of possibility if Matt and David find a way to bridge any differences.
Well, it's not about bridging the differences. It's about accepting. It is like what we just said. It's accepting a paradigm of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bigger paradigm than he wants it to be.
Well, I think the thing is that he thinks he has accepted it, and that's why he reacts so defensively.
I know.
And I think I'm quite good at making people feel safe with taking a step outside what they would normally be willing to consider the limit of their territory.
I agree.
It's good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay.
Lots of love.
Awesome.
Yeah. Take care, my brother.
I had a really great time, guys.
Yeah, I did.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.